the add person endpoint working, we ought to have a go at the add location, which is very, very similar. So if we go and take a look at the database, whoops, Chrome database, if we go and take a look at location and take a look at the structure, really the only thing that differs is the fact that we've got a location ID, a first line, a latitude and longitude, whereas in person the structure was just the same amount of fields: person ID, first name, last name, birth year. So we have the same amount of fields. So really, we could use the same file and just change the field names, which is what I'm going to attempt now. So let's close down Firefox. I didn't mean to start that up. So if I go back to add person, if I choose file, save as, and save it as add location, and then make the changes that I need. So we go back up, so instead of first name, we're going to need to reference the actual fields. So I go back to location and look at the structure. So instead of first name, I'm going to need first line. So if I just change this to first line, and instead of last name, I'm going to have latitude. And instead of birth year, I'm going to have longitude. Do the same for the rest of the items. Now we have to think a little bit here, because actually what I was really interested in this one, first line of the address, was rather like the birth year. I'm not really interested if that is an empty field or not, but we must have a latitude, we must have a longitude. So in these, I'm going to be checking whether the latitude and the longitude are empty. Okay, so that's the important part there. We're going to do the same sort of thing here, so let's change my variables. This is going to be lat, pick up the latitude. Actually, what I will do is actually give it his full name there, and longitude here. And we're going to be performing the same sort of task as we did with birth year for the first line. We're not really bothered whether we've got anything in, but if we don't have any data passed, then I want to make sure that that's going to be null. So this is going to be the first line of the address. So I'm going to set a variable first line. There's null. Line. So it really is just copying and pasting the entire file, which is an important aspect, because what we really need to do, because we are using a lot of exactly the same code, we need to sort of refactor this, which means going back over it, keeping the same functionality but changing the code. And I think we can probably have some functions and some external files that we can use, which would greatly improve our coding. It will end up with a lot less code and more meaningful and easy to edit. So we will have a look at that once we've finished and made sure that this works. So we're now going to change the query. So this time I need location ID, and it doesn't matter which order these come in, so I could keep that as first line, which will do that. And latitude and longitude. And we do have a little bit of a change in our values. So we need to have that as first line. Latitude, and I'll explain what we need to do to change the actual query variables here. Now, because these are numbers, latitude and longitude are numbers, they're real numbers. So if we go back here, we can see that I've got them as, well, they shouldn't be ints, they should be floats. So let's go and change that. So these need to be floats. So there we go, a float for that. Because the numbers that we're going to be putting in are like 51.137 and minus 1.26. So integer was completely the wrong data type now, so we can just change them. It's not going to affect anything else. So for example, the relations, it's not going to affect the relations because the relation only worked on location ID. Okay, so now I've got floats, which is much better. That's a bit of a mistake that I made earlier on. And the important part is that when we were building our string here, null, we had first line was actually a string, and we needed to enclose it between the two single quotes to make the string. Okay, but because we're using floats, we don't need to enclose the latitude and the longitude between single quotes, so we can take them out. So that will send in a number, and hopefully it won't complain. So there we go, we've dealt with two floats. With an integer, you would keep the quote marks in. I'm not too sure if it will work without. So now we've got our connection, and if it fails, the results, whether it was added, whether it was rejected. Okay, so now we've got to work on whether we were successful. So if either of these were empty, so that's going to be latitude, and that's going to be longitude. So if that was empty, or if the latitude was empty, or the longitude was empty, we're going to say, okay, we need latitude and longitude values to be sent. We can't leave this field empty. Send it back, and the rest is parameters. So we should now have a working item. So I'm going to test it again. If I save this, and we had test add person, so I'm going to choose file, save as, and save that as add location. And .php, no, it's .html, this one. Add location, and let's make the edit. So instead of first name, we want the first line of the address. First line of address. We'll call this one first line. And then we need the latitude. Call that latitude. Longitude. So that one's longitude. And I think we've got one more thing to change. We don't need to put it in the add person. We need to have it now go into add location. And we might as well change the title. For our test file. So I'm going to save that and we shall test it in the next video, as I'm bound to have made 1,000 mistakes and we'll need to put them right.